All right, so you should be seeing this Zoom slide. Let me go to my workshop slides. All right, here we go. All right, so now I can't see the chat, so I'll need some assistance in hearing any questions that might pop up. So tidying up with the KonMari method. I love this quote anytime I teach this workshop because it captures what a lot of us do. We go out hunting for more information, and it's really just procrastination. It's a fancy way to procrastinate. And so you have to be honest with yourself when you're in a workshop for infotainment, or you're really in a workshop to learn so that you can apply the information. My goal here is that this isn't just an hour that comes and goes and it's a nice to know, but it's information that you can immediately apply to improve your life. So this is from Stephen Pressfield, who I love. He wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance, and this quote is from his book, The War of Art, which is great for anyone who does anything creative or entrepreneurial. So what's that? Immediately apply to improve your life. So this is okay. So what better way of avoiding work than going to a workshop? So why is organizing challenging? And it's challenging because it's not just stuff. It's easy for other people in our lives to look at our cluttered environments or our not perfect environments, which is all of our environments, by the way, and have an opinion about, you should really throw that away. Why are you keeping this? It's really easy for other people to comment on our stuff. It's really easy for us to comment on other people's stuff about what they should keep and not keep. But when I go into someone's home, I make no judgment about what they have. And I have the utmost respect for what those things might mean to them. So this is the shortest story ever written, For Sale, Baby Shoes Never Worn. So when I go into a home and there's no children inside and this person has baby shoes, you might think, why do you need these? Throw them out. I don't know what someone's been through and what these objects represent. And a lot of times we avoid initiating an organizing process because there are things lurking. There's emotions lurking. There's a life experience. There's memories. There's regrets, things that we don't want to revisit or relive that are lurking, and we have to confront them when we're organizing. So I just want to lead with this so that you give yourself a lot of grace and a whole lot of compassion if you're experiencing any resistance to getting started with organizing. It's also a reason why it's really helpful to organize with a companion and organize with a group. There are support groups, there are consultants like me, there are just compassionate individuals that you can recruit. But if there's any kind of emotional attachment to the things that you have, which is really most of us, know that who you bring in is going to really determine the success of your tidying effort. You can bring in someone who's very efficient in project management, and so some of my clients really benefit from that kind of support. They just need the most efficient way to go about it. But more often, I'd say 95% of my clients, they need kindness and compassion and reassurance. They need someone to listen to their stories. They need someone to help them process the emotion before they're able to let go of the thing. So this is me. I'm now certified master. So this is outdated. I was just upgraded to master. And this is me speaking at one of my first KonMari seminars. And this is a photo with me and Marie Kondo. I was crouching down quite a bit in this photo. I'm 5'9", she's like 4'10". I think my 9-year-old daughter is taller than her, but she is everything that you'd want her to be in person, just total light. And for me, I just want to say, being one of the first KonMari consultants, when I was hired to represent her, I wasn't sure, does she expect me to be like her and her style, which is very demure and and kind of like this bright, calm spirit, and I'm a little bit more intense and loud and Long Island, right? So, but what she has shown me again and again is that she doesn't want me to be her. She wants me to shine my own light in my own way. And I'm telling you this because when you see Marie Kondo's show or hear about what she does for herself, she's not prescribing that that's how you should do it. Her mantra is really about what sparks joy for you. So if it doesn't look like clean white lines and your joy looks like having lots of collections around your house, like that's okay. The key is being thoughtful, intentional, and joyful with this. So keep that in mind as you go through your tidying effort. So I've evolved the KonMari method. As I've practiced this, I realized that the KonMari method gave us a really clear roadmap for getting rid of things, discarding. Most of the KonMari process that you would read about in the Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up will teach you how to go about clearing, and I will share that with you tonight. But my business is called Clear and Cultivate, because what I realized was that this path to a more joyful life, to the life-changing magic that we're promised, is that we also have to go about active cultivation. So the process that I guide my clients through is first envisioning their ideal lifestyle, and that's very much a part of the KonMari method. Then we clear, letting go of anything that doesn't support the person that we're becoming. Then we organize what we're keeping so that everything has a home, everything's very deliberate. Everything, the placement of things helps us behave in a certain way in our environment through environmental design. And then we actively cultivate the life that we want so that we're always moving forward, always evolving. So the KonMari method, in summary, is a once-in-a-lifetime tidying event. It's where you comprehensively go through every single object that you own. That might be tens of thousands of objects for some of us. And you only keep what sparks joy. So every object you touch with your hands, it's important to feel the energy of the object. Hold it up to your heart. Ask yourself if it sparks joy. If it does, you keep it. If you don't, you let it go with gratitude. Then you find a home for everything and you go on and live your joy-filled life. So I, through my years of experience now practicing this with people, have realized that it's not that simple. She says it's a once in a lifetime event. And I agree with that. I've experienced that in terms of you'll never really have to do the whole process of doing that all once in a lifetime, touch every single thing in one go type of effort that she advocates for. But we do have to acknowledge that our lives are always changing. We're always experiencing what I call these little micro seasons, these life transitions. And what we need at one stage is different than what we need at another. And this is most clearly seen with children. As they grow up, it's very clear they have outgrown literally their clothing, or they've evolved their interests. And so we let those things go so that they can grow up to be who they're meant to be. But for some reason, when we enter adulthood, and we may have had a fleeting interest in the ukulele when we were 25, and we just hang on to that ukulele forever, even though that interest has passed, the need for that has passed. So the process of ongoing decluttering, ongoing review of your things is a way of acknowledging, I've evolved, I'm moving on from this thing. So Sean Anker is a Harvard researcher, studies science of happiness, and he says happiness is the joy you feel moving towards your potential. So very much this forward momentum. And right now, while things feel very stuck and consistent, right, our environments aren't changing that much. We spend a lot of time inside. We're not out doing things. That feeling of stuckness, of stagnancy in our environment makes us feel an emotional stuckness. So we tend to despair, catastrophize. We feel like this is never going to end. At this point in time, I know a lot of us have felt like that. And so when we're going through our things and shifting things around, it's a way of almost taking the natural rhythms that happen out in nature of the seasons changing, of, all of that dy uh, dynamism that's happening out in nature. We bring that into our homes when we go through our things. So during COVID, just to give you an example, I practically changed every single room of my house. My daughter and I switched bedrooms. We redesigned her bedroom to kind of acknowledge the stage of life that she's at. She's 9, so she's kind of entering those tween years. So we made it look like cooler, older, big girl room. This room that I'm in right now used to be a guest room, and I turned it into a digital studio to really honor this new way of working that we're in. And it's a very joyful place for me to work. It supports me in that. My living room, which was really set up for company and conversation, we've now made it more of a lounge area for my daughter and I to like really embrace the Netflix life that we're in right now. My kitchen has become this like creative arts space because that's one of our favorite indoor COVID friendly activities. And then my basement, I carved out a little nook, and that's where I'm slowly, methodically going through all of my old family slides and archives and scanning those photos. I have a little nook for that project. And then in the other part of my basement, I just recently turned it into a home gym, a movement space / roller skating rink for my daughter and I to enjoy. That's every single room in my house has changed its function because our lives have changed so much. So I just kind of accept and acknowledge that. So wanted to share that with you. Every time you're going through a life transition, take a look at your space and say, do the things I have here belong in this new life that I'm living right now? So for me, my closet used to be filled with, I used to do these speaking engagements in person. I used to put on a dress and heels and bring my props and come and see you. But now I'm wearing leggings and a sweater, and it's much different. So all of my dresses for those kinds of occasions, I put them away. I don't want to look at them right now. I didn't discard them because I do expect that I will be doing those kinds of events again in the future, but they're not really serving me right now. So I don't want them in front of me right now. Okay. So the KonMari method, there are 6 rules for going about this process. Now, like I said, this is an intense kind of experience where you do it once and for all, comprehensively touch every single object that you own. For me, I could do the entire KonMari method in a weekend because I've done it several times now. I don't have that much to go through. If you've never done this before, you've never really discarded anything before, and you're living in a home you've lived in for 30 years, you've got a much bigger task at hand. So you have to, kind of scale your expectations and manage this as a project. It could be a small project for some, it could be a massive project for others. So rule number 1 is that we commit ourselves to tidying. Rule number 2 is that we imagine our ideal lifestyle of where are we headed. Rule number 3, as I mentioned, is we only keep what sparks joy. Rule 4 is that we're organizing by category, not by location, and I'll explain this in more detail. And then we follow a very particular order for tidying so that we start with what's easiest and we end with what's most challenging. And then rule number 6 is that we finish discarding first. So a lot of people love to geek out about the bins and the boxes and the folding and the closet systems, but that's organizing. We're going to do the discarding first, which is really the decision making happens first. So I'm going to dive into each of these. First is that we commit ourselves to tidying. Marie Kondo says that tidying is just a tool, not the final destination. So tidying, organizing is this incredible gateway to introspection and reflection. You are literally throwing out or discarding or donating, you're getting it out of your space, out of your life, things that don't serve you anymore. And so when you're sorting through your clothes, this is a real example that I had with a client, and it was like, oh, my hiking boots. I haven't worn my hiking boots in, I can't tell you how long. Now, some people say if you haven't used it in a year, you have to throw it away, and these arbitrary rules. But no, he stumbled upon his hiking boots and it woke something up in him. The joy was so obvious. He decided to sell all of his stuff and travel the world with his hiking boots. So it gives you insight into yourself. So you have to commit yourself to the process. What a lot of people do is they'll read the book, they'll attend a workshop, they'll watch the Netflix show or the home edit, they'll watch some organizing show and they'll get fired up. And they're like, they'll stay up till midnight, organizing their closet and exhaust themselves. And then they're like, oh, I'm never doing that again. Instead, you have to plan this out like it's a project. So you have to say, this is a marathon. It's called the Tidying Marathon for a reason. So I need to take every Saturday for the next 3 months and get this done. And so treat it like you're really committing yourself to building something, getting through something big. So the question that I ask people when they call me for help is, are you really ready for a change? And so the stages of change model is, there's pre-contemplation. People who are in pre-contemplation would not be at an organizing workshop. You're like totally unaware that organizing is even a thing to even bother with. Then there's, contemplation, which you're like, I'm thinking about it. I don't know. I could use a little sprucing up around here. Then there's preparation, which maybe you're doing a little research. Maybe you're seeing if there's a professional organizer near you who can help you. Maybe you're going out and buying some bins and boxes, but you're preparing to start your organizing project. Maybe you rent a dumpster. I don't know. I've seen that. And then there's the taking action where you're actually in it, doing the work. And then there's the maintenance afterwards. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how motivated are you to tidy? If you could just think about it or throw your response in the chat. Let's say that you picked 5, okay? I want you to specify to yourself why you're not 2 points lower. So on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm about a 5 in motivation. Well, why am I not a 3? Does anyone feel brave enough to share why they're not lower?
Patty, a couple chats. One patron said 9. Another patron said about an 8, but I feel my family holds me back.
Okay, yeah. So you're motivated, but you're identifying some obstacles. So answering the second question, why are you not 2 points lower, helps us pinpoint is your motivation. So often we focus on the obstacles and we don't focus enough on the motivation. So why do you want to do this? Well, I'm not lower because I see the benefits. It feels good when I organize. I've organized before and I liked it. I'm really ready. I have the time, so get specific with yourself. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this slide or just jot down the questions and use this as a journaling exercise. So this is motivational interviewing, on a scale from 1 to 10, how motivated am I to do my taxes? I'm about a 3. But why am I not a 1? Well, because I don't want to go to jail, right? I don't want to have a headache. I don't want to, there's reasons why so there's always a reason you're not lower. And that you can use those reasons to motivate you to go higher up on the scale. The other thing, why are you not 2 points higher? And those are very real things. It's really hard to find the time. I don't know what to do. I get overwhelmed, I hear. It's really emotional. My family sabotages my effort, so then I just get frustrated and quit. So there's lots of reasons, and those are your barriers. And those are the things that we need to focus on and help you overcome.
Patty, another message in the chat. I feel better. It's easier to be organized because I know where things are.
Absolutely. Right. So we're focusing on the rewards, and the rewards are going to be what you need to tap into when you get in the middle of this. It's like I said, training for a marathon. So when, it's really easy to sign up and get excited and go out and buy new sneakers. That's the easy part, but when you're halfway through your training and you're not getting any, no one really cares whether you go out or not. It's really easy to hit snooze and just like, I don't want to. And then when you're in that place, you need to dig deep and go, why did I sign up for this? I signed up for this because I'm sick of being stressed by my mess, and I want to feel lighter. I want to feel clearer. I don't want to leave my family with the burden of all my stuff. What are your reasons? And write those down now and keep them as, in your journal, or as post-it notes on your mirror as your motivation of why you're doing this. And as you get ready to take action, take a look at some of the obstacles and deal with them. So the obstacle of my family sabotaging me. Well, that obstacle in particular is a really common one. But one of the things that the KonMari method is all about is that this is your own process. And as much as we do share living spaces with other people, we do have some nooks in our life, in our home, that we're solely responsible for. And through this process, you'll even create better boundaries around that. So you can tell your family, no one's laundry is allowed in my bedroom anymore. Your own laundry is in your own bedroom. Everyone is responsible for picking up their own stuff. You can't make them do it, but you can set that boundary with them. You can also tell them, hey, I'm embarking on a tidying effort. Just like I might be embarking on a new exercise program, or I'm trying a new diet. Just because you want to go on a juice cleanse doesn't mean everyone else wants to go on the juice cleanse. And it's really annoying, to be the one who's like, just because you want to do that doesn't mean I want to do that. So don't be that person either. Right? So what you should communicate is, hey, the clutter around here is really causing me a lot of stress, and I want to make it better. I'm only going to touch my own things. I'm only going to discard my own things. If there are things of yours that are not where they need to be, which is in your own dedicated space, I am going to give you the opportunity to move them. And if they're not moved, I'm going to move them into the space, and you're free to keep however much you want or discard whatever you want. But I'm starting to put some boundaries around this. And so I'm happy to dig into that a little further at the end if we want to talk about more specific personal examples when we're not being recorded.
And one more comment,
Yeah.
Patty, from the chat. I do get overwhelmed because I want it finished. It seems to take forever. I get motivated, then life interrupts my motivation.
Yeah, it's true. It's about turtle steps, right? And sometimes I think what I hear a lot is people aren't giving them a realistic amount of time to do this. And so one of the things I try to do is, instead of treating it like a chore, let's reframe it as a life review, or let's reframe it as something more fun and interesting. And so when you think about it, every single object that's in your home is something that you brought into your home or that someone gifted you. It didn't just show up by accident. And so every object has a story to tell if you let it. And so when you're going through your clothing, yeah, it's overwhelming. But when it's not this, task to complete, but it's an opportunity to look back and reflect, it can be quite fun. The other thing too is to don't bite off more than you can chew. So in the KonMari method, we do recommend taking out everything from each category, making a big mountain of clothes on your bed. If you saw the Netflix show, especially episode 2, there's like something that was called Mount Wendy. It was like the biggest clothing pile Marie Kondo had ever seen. That would overwhelm anybody. It really would. So if where you need to start is your sock drawer, start with your sock drawer. You don't have to take out all of your clothing. And just give yourself an adequate amount of time and say, yeah, I'm going to dedicate 5 hours a week to this, and just keep going. Um, okay, I'm going to keep going. So rule number 2 is that we imagine our ideal lifestyle. This is really important too. I haven't even touched any clothing yet. I've just committed to a process. I've carved out the time. Now I'm imagining, well, what would my life be like if I only had things in it that spark joy for me? And so I want you to do a walkthrough of your home, or you can use like a vision board, is pretty fun to do as well. But walk through your home and imagine your ideal lifestyle in your home. As you're doing this, like really express gratitude for your home and what it does for you. I know a lot of us, we start with like, that pile and that pile, and that needs to get fixed and that needs to get fixed. Any kind of personal transformation is more, you're going to be more successful at that endeavor, and it's going to, the results are going to sustain themselves longer if you're starting with a place of worthiness and love. So if I want to change my diet, I'm not going to start with hating myself. Like, oh, you're such a loser and you're so unhealthy and look at you, and, talking bad things about my body. I'm going to say, my body is amazing and it does amazing body things. And I am going to show my body how much I love it by, moving it the way it can move, letting it do what it can do. And I'm going to nourish it with really good things. The same is true about our homes. So I want you to thank it and say, thank you, house. You've kept me warm. You've kept me safe. Especially now, you've kept me safe from this big, scary thing that's out there. And you've protected me. You've been a witness to all my life. There's been bad days here and there've been good days here, and you're always here for me, house. So start from a place of gratitude, and then go through from your front at the moment you walk through your front door, and just pretend it's a blank canvas. And like, it might seem impossible. I've been in some homes where there's not a lot of floor space. I'm walking through tracks and it's quite cluttered, and not because there's something wrong with the person who lived in that home, but that person has just been through a lot, and they've neglected the house. They've neglected themselves, but now they're ready to face it and give it some love. And so as you're walking around, it might seem impossible, but try to suspend, and allow yourself to dream about what it could be. And I want you to think about, what does it smell like? What does it sound like? Really close your eyes. What's happening in this space? Are we laughing? Are we talking? Are we lounging? Are we cooking? Is it fun and wild and free? Is it formal and beautiful? Is it minimalist? Is it, creative? What's happening here? Right. And that's going to help you determine what you keep in your life. Get as detailed as you can. Oh, this bathroom, I'm using these gorgeous towels, and I have these fancy lotions, and I have, a nightly ritual where I'm taking a bath with a candle and I'm reading a book of poetry. Like, let yourself dream those things and have that dream be specific for your whole life. But also narrow down for each little room of like, what could this be? And what kind of behavior do I want to facilitate with this space? So this should be a fun exercise. Don't skip over it, because it's going to help you when you get into the pile of like, I don't know, should I keep this pen or not? Well, then you're like, well, how does it support the vision that I just stated? That helps a lot. So one of the things that I believe is that, in this idea of self-help, is the important and deliberate use of environmental triggers. So it's not always so much about us improving ourselves, but about creating the right conditions to thrive. So if you think about a little acorn, it doesn't need to read self-help books to grow. It doesn't need to do anything. It just needs to be. But it does need the right conditions. So if your life isn't what you want it to be, stop beating yourself up so much, and maybe start asking yourself, how do I create the right conditions for me to thrive? Well, what kind of ingredients do I want to keep in my pantry? What kind of reading material do I want to keep in my home? What kind of art supplies do I want to surround myself with to invoke creativity? Do I have a television and a computer and all that in my bedroom if I'm trying to cultivate sleep? Right? So what do you want to cultivate? How do you want to evolve? And how are you setting up your environment so that it's triggering the right things? When I walk into this office, this is the only function that this room has. I have a tiny house, you guys. It is not like I live in a sprawling estate where I can have a room for every different behavior, but each room does trigger the kind of thing I want it to trigger. So this space allows me to just pop in here. I don't have to go clean off my dining room table in order to deliver a Zoom presentation. I have a dedicated position in order to be able to do that effectively. So think about that in your vision as well. Rule number 3 is that we keep only what sparks joy. If you see me driving around Long Island, I have spark joy on my license plate. Give me a little honk and a wave and I'll say hi. But spark joy, people are like, okay, yeah, whatever, keep what sparks joy for you. But like, what does that mean? And why is that hard for people to do? And it's hard for people to do because we don't give ourselves a lot of space to ask ourselves how we feel. We are bombarded constantly with opinions of other people and cultural conditioning and marketing and all those things of you should do this, and Real Simple magazine said, and Oprah said this is her favorite thing, and my mother gave me this, and all the opinions about how good girls should act and women like me should, and this is an essential t-shirt. But when's the last time you asked yourself, how do I feel about it? Right? So learning to joy check, that's what we call this in the KonMari method. We joy check each single item. What it really is doing is rewiring your brain, helping you build the connection and the practice of introspection and recognition of this sparks joy in me. So spark joy feels like total aliveness, electricity running through your body. You're smiling. It's a universal reaction, no matter what language you speak, what culture you're from. Your body's going to react to joy. You can recognize it. If you just saw faces, you'd say joy, 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 joy. That's joy. And so when I have people for the first time going through their pile, I'm trying to train them to recognize joy. And sometimes there'll be incongruency. They'll go, I should keep this. And it's like, they're speaking in a very like down, kind of drained way. I should keep this. And I go, why do you see the incongruency there? And they go, well, it's just a white t-shirt. Everyone should have a white t-shirt, I guess. And then they keep going along with their stuff. And then they go, I should throw this away. And I'm like, what? You look like joy and happiness and a lot. What happened there? And they say, oh, well, this skirt, I wore this skirt on my honeymoon, and I just have amazing memories of dancing through the streets in Rome with my husband, and it was amazing. But it's not going to fit me anymore, and I don't expect to get to that size again. And so I said, well, how would you feel about just keeping that as a memory piece, and we'll hang it up on a pretty hanger right in front of your closet, and it'll remind you of that time. It'll remind you of what it feels like to be, what you really felt beautiful that night. It will remind you of the connection you have with your husband. How would that sound? And they're like, yes, I love that idea. So even though she's not going to wear it, it's definitely a spark joy piece that's going to enhance her life. So that's what we're trying to do. And when they do strike that moment of joy, I kind of pause them and I go, feel that. Like I'll say, take a screenshot of that, whatever that is in your body. And we practice with t-shirts and socks and backpacks and Post-it notes and all the things that are sitting around our house. And you have to, you can see the application for this. So when you're on a date with someone and you're like, I don't know if I like him or not, you stop over analyzing all that stuff. You go for a job interview and you're like, something just doesn't feel right. I don't know which I should order off the menu. All that like decision making that's really hard for us sometimes becomes a lot easier when you train yourself to just honor what sparks joy in you. So this is a poem by Shel Silverstein, The Voice, and it's the essence of what we're trying to learn here. There is a voice inside you that whispers all day long. I feel that this is right for me. I know that this is wrong. No teacher, preacher, parent, friend, or wise man can decide what's right for you. Just listen to the voice that speaks inside. So that's what we're trying to do. This one rule is the most important rule. If you practice this and dedicate yourself to being honest, everything else will take care of itself. Because I would say, most of the task of organizing and going through the KonMari process is really about deciding what belongs in your life anymore. And if you can make those decisions with confidence and clarity and being willing to let things go that don't fit that standard that you set, you're going to know where to put things. You'll figure it out. There's YouTube. You can look up how to fold. All of that will sort itself out. I'm going to go a little bit more and then we'll stop and ask. I'm here for questions. So the next rule is that we tidy by category, not by location. This is going to take the overwhelm of this out of the equation, or at least reduce it. So you can see this closet here. There's a lot of stuff in it. It's not even that messy of a closet, but there's a lot of random things in there. It's, there's things that need to get returned. There's some things that belong to her. There's some things that belong to her husband. There's gifts. There's things that need to go back to the store. There's all kinds of stuff in there, and not all of it is clothing. So with the KonMari method, we just focus on clothing. So we take all of the clothing out, we make a pile on the bed, and you can make it into subpiles if you want: shirts with shirts, pants with pants, socks with socks. And then you're just looking at a pile of shirts and it's more manageable. And then you're like in shirt decision-making mode. And you're able to compare and contrast. Well, I have 50 shirts, best to worst. So when you see this shirt that's like on the low end of your joy, it's really easy to see, because you can see, oh, I've got 20 more shirts that do spark joy. And so that gives you more confidence to be able to let go of the ones that are just, that middle ground that are hard to make decisions around sometimes. And yeah, so we go through clothing, and then there's still stuff. The closet is not gorgeous after. The closet isn't going to be gorgeous until you're done with those categories. So what you're going to see in your home, unlike what television does, it is not a before and after. It is a slow change throughout your whole home as you go through the process, if that makes sense. So you have to be patient with this. But if you do it this way, the impact is going to be more sustainable. And it's way more comprehensive. So it's not just a clean out day. It's really a whole home process. Okay. Then we follow the right order. So this is personal, I think. Marie Kondo says that we should go clothing, then books, then paper, then kimono, which is miscellaneous, everything else. And there's lots of subcategories in there, of course: kitchen stuff, bathroom, toiletry kind of items, hobby, sports equipment, tools, all kinds of things live in kimono, but you go through each subcategory. And then sentimental is at the end. And often when people have resistance around tidying, they're like, but I don't want to get rid of my diploma, and I don't want to get rid of this sentimental thing. It's like, don't even worry about that. If you get through 1 through 4 and don't touch sentimental, you will have made a huge impact on your life. So do not stress the sentimental. you will be much more confident. This joy checking muscle that we practice when we're doing the joy checking process, you will be able to look at your sentimental stuff with a lot more confidence and clarity. You will be quite surprised, as I was, really able to throw away journals, photographs, garbage bags and garbage bags of photographs I threw away. And I'm quite a sentimental person, but when you see, you're like, do I really need 800 pictures of of Washington, D.C. from my 5th grade field trip? No, I don't. You'll be quite surprised. So this is the order to go through. It's also the order that's more personal. So your family isn't going to get threatened when you're organizing your own clothes. They're not going to get threatened when you're organizing your books. They're not going to get threatened when you organize your paper. And then you organize your kimono, you organize your own stuff. And by the time you get up to kimono, your family is going to start to see like, damn, mom is happy. Like, look how awesome her closet is starting to look. Look how much happier she feels. She's wearing better clothes that make her feel more alive. Her bookshelf looks amazing. She's not as stressed about all the papers that are everywhere around the house. And so then they're going to start coming to you saying, do you think you might help me with that? So you'll be surprised if you just follow your own joy in this and be the model of that. Your family will get on board. And that's been my story with my own daughter. Is actually, I'm very proud mom. She just got her school report back, and she's the model neat student in the classroom. And the teacher's always calling out her little workspace for her friends, but she needs help. She just asked me today to help her organize her room because it got a little out of hand, but I don't go in and clean it up for her. I let her experience the mess so that she understands the value of keeping it tidy, and she understands that if she lets it go, it's going to get overwhelming. So I went in, we went through her clothing, we went through her books. They're doing a little book exchange at school, and we're good for a while. But she asks for help when she needs it, and all the other things too. She's asking, Mom, can we do a healthy eating thing? Because you're so full of energy all the time, and you're really healthy and energetic, and I want to be healthy and energetic like you. And it's not because I've told her she should change the way she eats, but she's seeing the way I eat and seeing how it's impacting my life. So all of these behavioral things that we do, highly encourage us to just model joy of practicing the process, and that's going to have a much better impact on our families. So the final rule is that we finish discarding first. And I just want to give this a little example. A lot of times people think they need more organizing supplies, and sometimes organizing supplies can be helpful, but you don't know how much space you need because you don't know how much you're going to keep from what you have. So this is just a little girl's room that I worked in. This is one set of dressers. Now she had all these little plastic rolly bins all over her room holding toys in them. And this dresser was filled with clothing. And so when we went through the process, her clothing ended up only taking up 2 of the 4 drawers in the dresser. So the bottom 2 drawers were adequate for her toys, and all the plastic rolly bins ended up getting discarded. So that's why it's important, but it took us a few sessions. We had to do clothing, we did books on another session, and then we did her toys as a kimono session. So it took those 3 sessions of tidying to get to this place that we have. All right, so I have a few tips on storage. This is the signature KonMari vertical fold on the left. You can see that little smiley face sweatshirt. That's a sentimental object that the client really doesn't ever plan on wearing, but it sparks joy for her. Instead of it keeping it in a bin in the attic, we just find ways to sprinkle joy throughout the home. And every time she opens her drawer, she's got this little happy smiley face looking up at her. This illustration is from Marie Kondo's second book called Spark Joy. That's the companion to the life-changing magic of tidying up. So if you're going to, dig into the method, definitely recommend reading the life-changing magic of tidying up. And then this is the illustrated companion. But now that there's, 600 or so KonMari consultants worldwide, there's plenty of YouTube videos and all those kinds of things that even I think better illustrate how to apply the method with folding techniques and storage techniques and all of that. I'm going to skip a little bit because you can look that up. These are just some storage examples that I can get to if we need to. So how do you apply this? Again, you spent an hour here to learn something. You didn't want to just discard it and, you know, not do anything with the information. So a few specific things that you can do. One is that you can greet your home and just thank it. When you start coming into your home every day, just say thank you for what you've done for me, and express gratitude for it. The next is that you can make a vision board for your ideal lifestyle, or do that exercise where you do the whole home walkthrough and really think about how would I want to live in this space. Another idea to take action is to joy check a micro category like socks as a place to start if doing the whole mountain of clothing is too overwhelming. If you want to make a bigger commitment, is to make space in your schedule for a tidying marathon. That's where you commit 1 day a week, or I've had people take a week or two off of life and this is all they do for 2 weeks. That can be a little intense for people, and it's not recommended if you have a lot of sentimental attachment to stuff, but give yourself a dedicated time to actually do this work. And the last thing is something that I offer is we started to do this and it's super affordable. So I typically charge $150 an hour for my services to go in with a client. And you can imagine a tidying festival can take a lot of time. You know, if I'm working with people for 5 or 6 hours a session, and it might take 30 or 40 sessions, that adds up. So one of the things that we started to do, and really this is now the only KonMari service that I offer, is a KonMari Live. And we have one coming up, just random, you know, just kind of worked out that we're doing this today, and this is coming up on Saturday for 4 hours, and it's a party. We're going to do this over Zoom, and everyone's going to be in their own houses, organizing together, and I only charge $65 for it. So we do these once a month so that we can commiserate together through our KonMari experience. And then of course, if you're looking for a local consultant, I'm happy to refer you to my friends who are working one-on-one with people in their homes. So that is the KonMari method. If you want to stop recording, we can go ahead and take questions, and I'll throw in some information. Whoops.
I'm going to stop I'm going to stop the Facebook stream now.
Great. Okay. So if you want to keep in touch with me, I just put my newsletter contact